Today, Caitlyn Clark is a household name, an icon of women's basketball whose impact is undeniable. But what if I told you that we almost never knew her? What if her record-breaking performances, her revolutionary style of play, and her journey to greatness had never happened? The story of Caitlyn Clark's rise to fame is unexpected, filled with strange moments, a couple of fiery outbursts, and one unforgettable practice that would change everything. This is the incredible journey of the woman who turned the game upside down. This is Caitlyn Clark. Born on January 22nd, 2002, Caitlyn grew up in West Des Moines, Iowa. Sports were part of her DNA. She has two brothers, Colin and Blake, both athletes. Blake played football at Iowa State, and their father was a baseball and basketball player at Simpson College. So it's no surprise that Caitlyn's family was deeply embedded in the world of sports. But sports weren't the only influence in her life. Raised in a Catholic family, Caitlyn attended Catholic school from kindergarten all the way through high school. Even as a college athlete, her brother Blake would send her gentle reminders to attend church, and locals recall seeing her in the pews at Iowa on Sundays. As a kid, Caitlyn spent countless hours in the backyard, playing sports with her brothers. She tried volleyball, soccer, softball, and tennis, but by the time she reached 6th grade, she knew basketball was her true calling. She had always been competitive, and when there was no girls' team to join, she played with the boys. In middle school, Caitlyn took a huge step forward, joining the prestigious All-Iowa Attack Travel Team, one of the nation's top programs that churns out Division I talent. By 7th grade, she was already going toe-to-toe with 9th graders, and by 8th grade, she was holding her own against high school seniors. Looking back on those formative years, Caitlyn often reflects on her time with the Attack Travel Team. Those summers spent grinding at a hatch, those endless hours of basketball, laid the foundation for everything to come. It was there, surrounded by a team of fiercely talented players, that she honed her game. When Caitlyn entered Dowling Catholic High School, she didn't just make her mark, she became part of something bigger. She didn't just continue a legacy of athletic excellence, she began creating her own. Caitlyn Clark's family was no stranger to success. Her brother Blake clinched 2 state championships in football, and Colin snagged a state title in track. Even her grandfather had deep roots in sports, coaching football at Dowling for years. But Caitlyn's high school basketball journey wasn't all smooth sailing, not because she didn't have the skills to compete, but because of her unrelenting drive to win. Her competitive spirit was fierce, sometimes to a fault. When a teammate made a mistake, Caitlyn's reactions could be explosive. She wasn't shy about showing her frustration, throwing her arms up, stomping her feet, clapping her hands loudly in dismay. Her passion to win was undeniable, but not everyone shared her intensity. While Caitlyn was focused on one thing, victory, her teammates just wanted to have fun. It wasn't until her coach, Kristen Meyer, stepped in that Caitlyn began to see how her behavior was affecting the team. Meyer pointed out how Caitlyn's body language spoke volumes and showed her film of herself on the court, visibly upset and disconnected from the team. Caitlyn was stunned. She remembered an assignment from 10th grade on empathy, one she hadn't fully grasped at the time. Meyer helped her realize that empathy wasn't just about understanding others, it was about connecting with them. Caitlyn needed to recognize that her teammates weren't always driven by the same need to win at all costs. Some were there for the love of the game, while Caitlyn's sole focus was on winning. Despite leading the state in scoring twice, the team struggled to find success. Dowling didn't even make it to the state tournament during Caitlyn's senior year. But through all the ups and downs, one thing remained constant: Caitlyn's work ethic. She was always in the gym, perfecting her game, sharpening her skills, and pushing herself to be the best. Her individual accolades were impressive. Caitlyn was named the Gatorade Iowa Player of the Year in both her junior and senior years, earned 2-time All-American honors from Max Preps and USA Today, and even won a gold medal with Team USA at the 2019 FIBA U19 World Cup. But even as her individual success soared, she continued to battle with her emotions on the court, and her intense focus on winning sometimes made it hard for her to form close friendships. Outside of family, she had few true friends in high school. Throughout high school, Caitlyn Clark had friends, but not many close ones. She later admitted in an ESPN interview that her loneliness didn't come from a lack of company. It came from the fact that no one around her shared her level of drive and ambition. Her goals were laser-focused, and in high school, that kind of intensity can feel isolating. But when she made it to college, Caitlyn finally found peers who matched her competitive fire. However, before she could get there, Caitlyn faced a major challenge: choosing where to play. How would you have coached Caitlyn? Let me know in the comments below. During high school, Caitlyn's game spoke for itself. She was known for her deep three-pointers and slick assists, quickly attracting the attention of college recruiters. ESPN ranked her as the 4th best recruit in the class of 2020. No surprise given her incredible talent. Caitlyn's dream school was UConn, the powerhouse of women's basketball. But as college coaches came to Dowling to watch her play, they noticed something that gave them pause. Caitlyn's body language was often negative and self-critical, and she could be hard on herself and her teammates. For the most part, coaches understood this behavior came with being a top-tier athlete, someone who pushed herself relentlessly to succeed. But not everyone was convinced. Most notably, UConn's legendary coach, Gino Auriemma, never made the trip to see Caitlyn play, which was a huge blow to her. That left her with 2 main choices: Notre Dame and Iowa. Caitlyn's mom, Anne, was a die-hard Notre Dame fan, and the entire community at Dowling hoped she would choose South Bend. So naturally, Caitlyn gave Notre Dame serious consideration. But Iowa had been in the picture much earlier. The Hawkeyes recruiting coordinator, Jan Jensen, had reached out to Caitlyn's father, Brent Clark, when Caitlyn was just in 7th grade, an early and bold move that included offering Caitlyn a scholarship on the spot. Brent Clark wasn't quite ready to dive into college talks yet, so Jan Jensen, the Iowa recruiting coordinator, agreed to back off for a while, but she didn't let Iowa's interest fade. Throughout Caitlyn's high school years, Jensen made a point of showing up at 5:45 a.m. practices, subtly reminding Caitlyn that. Then, in 2019, Jensen and Iowa head coach Lisa Bluder took things to a whole new level. They flew all the way to Thailand, halfway around the world, to catch Caitlyn playing for Team USA's U-19 squad at the FIBA World Cup. It was a bold move, one last effort to secure her commitment. But the trip wasn't as simple as just watching a game. NCAA recruiting rules kept them from speaking directly to Caitlyn, so they had to stay in the stands, quietly observing. To make the most of their journey, they also decided to try some local cuisine, including seasoned crickets. Jensen even posted about it on Instagram, hoping the quirky post would catch Caitlyn's attention. Unfortunately, the crickets didn't do the trick. Caitlyn, still weighing her options, later committed to Notre Dame. But when no official announcement appeared on social media, Jensen had a gut feeling something was off. A quick check-in with Caitlyn confirmed it. She had changed her mind. It turned out that Caitlyn's decision to commit to Notre Dame wasn't just about basketball. It was the first time she had gone against her mom's wishes. In a turn no one saw coming, Caitlyn Clark was about to become an Iowa Hawkeye. She wasted no time setting the bar high. During her announcement, Caitlyn boldly declared that her goal was to lead Iowa to the Final Four. Many considered it a lofty aim, maybe even unrealistic. But Caitlyn wasn't one of them. She was determined, and that drive would define her. Caitlyn officially joined the University of Iowa in the fall of 2020. In her very first game, she started alongside Gabby Marshall, Kate Martin, McKenna Warnock, and Monica Zinano, a lineup that would go on to dominate the court together for the next 3 years. Finally, at Iowa, Caitlyn Clark found what had been missing in high school: teammates who were just as committed to the game and to winning as she was. The bond came quickly. They shared everything, from personal stories to inside jokes. One fun fact: Caitlyn's fake name for hotel reservations was Hallie Parker, a nod to the character from this site, The Parent Trap. But as Caitlyn's new teammates got to know her, They quickly realized that Caitlyn's brilliance on the court came with a fiery, intense edge. Her competitive nature was undeniable. When things didn't go her way, like when a teammate didn't pass her the ball, Caitlyn would erupt in frustration. Hands thrown up, storming off the court. It was clear that her drive to win was all-consuming. Her teammates, however, weren't going to let her outburst slide. They pushed back, challenging Caitlyn to manage her emotions and her reactions. This led to some tension, and coach Lisa Bluder had to step in multiple times to keep things on track. Much like her high school coaches, Bluder held video sessions focused not on Caitlyn's stellar play, but on how she handled frustration. While Caitlyn's coaches had no complaints about her basketball IQ, they emphasized something even more crucial: teamwork. The Hawkeyes started winning games. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Despite the bumps in the road, Caitlyn's individual performance was nothing short of historic. She led the nation in points, total assists, and three-pointers, earning Big Ten Freshman of the Year honors. The Hawkeyes wrapped up the season with a solid 2010 record, securing a spot in the NCAA tournament. They won 2 games before falling to UConn in the Sweet 16, but the season marked a major step in Caitlyn's journey and the team's rise to prominence. For Caitlyn Clark, the loss to UConn didn't feel like a defeat. After the game, UConn head coach Gino Auriemma, a coach she had admired for years, approached her with high praise. He thanked her for the impact she was making on the game. To hear such words from Auriemma meant the world to Caitlyn. It was a validation of everything she had worked for. That summer, Caitlyn made the Team USA roster after a key moment of self-reflection. When she tried out for the U19 team, her signature style of aggressive individual play didn't translate to wins. Every scrimmage ended in a loss. It wasn't until Team USA coach Corey Close pulled her aside and asked, "Do you want to rack up stats, or do you want to win?" that Caitlyn truly understood what she needed to do. She adjusted her game, focused more on the team, and earned a spot on the roster. She went on to help lead the team to a gold medal at the FIBA U19 World Cup, a key step in her development. But Caitlyn's rise to stardom really took off during her sophomore year, on October 20th, 2021 to be exact. It was just 15 days into the season, and during a practice scrimmage with her Iowa teammates, the game took a dramatic turn. Her team was down by 25 points, with only 4 minutes left on the clock. Most players would have thrown in the towel, but not Caitlyn. She turned the game into a one-woman show. She hit a three-pointer, then another, then several more. No one could stop her as she poured in 22 points in just 2 minutes, 7 of those points coming from deep three-pointers, including a buzzer beater to tie the game. It was nothing short of spectacular. That scrimmage wasn't just a game. It was the moment Iowa basketball knew they were witnessing something special. The team could feel it. They knew something extraordinary was happening, and greatness was on the horizon. Later that season, in a critical game against Michigan, Iowa once again found themselves trailing by 25 points late in the third quarter. Caitlyn, however, wasn't backing down. She unleashed a barrage of three-pointers, including one from way beyond the arc, nearly from the logo. With every shot, she cemented her place as a player who could take over a game when it mattered most. The memory of that legendary practice still lingered in the air, and Caitlyn Clark's teammates couldn't forget the way she exploded onto the scene. But this time, despite a jaw-dropping 21 points in the final 6 minutes, it wasn't enough to topple the 6th-ranked team in the nation. The upset slipped through their fingers. Still, there was a buzz at Iowa, a sense that something special was brewing. Caitlyn had already begun to show the world the kind of player she was, and her teammates were beginning to understand just how big her potential was. In that season, Caitlyn made history, becoming the first NCAA women's player ever to lead Division I in both points and assists per game. She pulled off back-to-back 30-point triple-doubles and earned a spot as a finalist for the Naismith Women's Player of the Year award. Though she ultimately lost the honor to Aaliyah Boston from South Carolina, who would later become her teammate, it was clear Caitlyn was a force to be reckoned with. But let's not rush ahead. There were also smaller victories along the way. For one, Caitlyn had begun to sharpen her awareness of her body language and emotions on the court. It wasn't just about putting up big numbers, it was about becoming a more complete player. That year, Iowa snagged the Big Ten championship, but their NCAA tournament journey ended earlier than hoped, with a tough second-round loss to Creighton. Over the next year, Caitlyn's brother Blake kept her motivated, sending her a picture of that scoreboard from the Creighton game, a constant reminder of unfinished business. As Caitlyn and her teammates entered her junior year, they carried a quiet fear. What if they couldn't live up to the pressure? What if another upset awaited them? The weight of those expectations hung heavy on their shoulders. The Iowa coaching staff knew that in order to win the tough, close games ahead, their players had to trust each other, both on and off the court. It was the key to taking their game and their hopes further. The Iowa coaching staff knew the team needed more than just skill. They needed connection. They encouraged Caitlyn and her teammates to open up, to be vulnerable with each other in a way they hadn't before. So, once a week, they gathered for candid, no-holds-barred conversations where nothing was off the table. Hopes, fears, struggles, everything was shared. At first it felt uncomfortable, but soon Caitlyn and her teammates realized that by being open with one another, their bond deepened. Trust grew, both on the court and off it. They were more than a team now. They were a family. By the time the season wrapped up, the Hawkeyes had a 23-6 record and were ranked 6th in the nation. They closed out the regular season in dramatic fashion, with Caitlyn sinking a last-second, off-balance three-pointer to seal a win over second-ranked Indiana. The crowd at Carver Hawkeye Arena went wild, all 15,000 fans on their feet. That energy carried them into the Big Ten tournament, where they swept through the competition to claim the Big Ten championship. But the real test was yet to come. As the number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, Caitlyn entered with a quiet confidence, knowing this could be their year. In the first round, Iowa cruised to a 52-point blowout victory. They had a tougher battle against Georgia in the second round, but they still pulled through. In the Sweet 16, they faced Colorado and came out on top. Then, in the Elite 8, Caitlyn put up a staggering 41-point triple-double to lead Iowa past Louisville. That performance made history, as Caitlyn became the first player, male or female, to score 900 points and dish out 300 assists in a single Division I season. With that victory, Iowa earned a spot in the Final Four, where they were set to face undefeated South Carolina. Caitlyn had already exceeded expectations when she first committed to Iowa, but now she was raising the bar even higher. In the national semifinal, she delivered a jaw-dropping 41-point performance against the defending champions, leading Iowa to the national championship game. Despite falling short in the championship game to Angel Reese and LSU, there was no denying the wave of excitement surrounding Caitlyn Clark. She had officially become a superstar. During the tournament, she made headlines by pulling off John Cena's iconic "Can't See Me" celebration after sinking a clutch shot against Louisville. The move caught the attention of both John Cena and LeBron James, who took to Twitter to join the conversation. It was clear, Caitlyn had arrived. In fact, more people tuned in to watch the Iowa-Louisville game on ESPN than any regular season NBA game that year. But even with all the hype, losing the title still stung. In the locker room after the game, emotions ran high and there were plenty of tears. Caitlyn, always the leader, gathered her teammates and took them to a nearby bar, just down the street from their hotel. There, they shared drinks, reminisced about the season, and allowed themselves to process the pain of the loss together. It was a raw moment of connection. They stayed up all night, trading stories and laughing through the tears. When Caitlyn was asked years later about her favorite college memory, it wasn't the record-breaking performances, the buzzer beaters, or the accolades. It was that night in Dallas, in that small bar, surrounded by teammates who had become her family. It was a bittersweet moment, but one that meant everything to her. That summer, Iowa planned a preseason trip that would allow the team to recharge and bond. Caitlyn and her teammates traveled through Italy and Croatia, mixing basketball with a healthy dose of fun. On the final night of their trip, Caitlyn spotted a yacht that caught her eye. Without hesitation, she booked it herself, paying for it out of her own pocket. The team spent the evening on the water, enjoying what they called their self-declared booze cruise. They snorkeled, laughed, and let loose, soaking in every moment of the carefree night. What made the trip even more memorable was that most of the coaching staff didn't find out about the yacht outing until after they returned home. But for Caitlyn and the Hawkeyes, it was a symbol of everything they'd been through together, working hard, pushing through challenges, and now, finally, taking time to unwind and bond as a true team. It was a moment of pure joy, one that would stay with them long after the season ended. That summer, Caitlyn Clark's rise to stardom went into overdrive. She signed major NIL deals with top brands, starred in commercials, and treated her teammates to gifts from her sponsorships: Nike sneakers, Bose headphones, and more. Everyone wanted a piece of Iowa's standout player, and the spotlight on her only grew brighter. For the first time in school history, Iowa season tickets sold out, leaving both head coach Lisa Bluder and assistant Jan Jensen in tears when they heard the news. The excitement didn't stop there. On October 15th, 2023, Caitlyn and the Hawkeyes made history once again. Iowa hosted DePaul in an exhibition game at Kinnick Stadium, home of the football team. A record-breaking 55,646 fans packed the stadium, setting a new attendance mark for an NCAA women's basketball game. Caitlyn didn't disappoint, recording another triple-double. After the game, she met up with her parents and boyfriend outside the stadium, where an ESPN writer humorously noted her parents handed her a massive bag of freshly laundered clothes. Despite all the fame and glory, Caitlyn was still very much a college student. Iowa's coaches were keenly aware of this as the season got underway. Caitlyn may have been a superstar, but she still had the same fiery passion and drive that sometimes led her to get upset or raise her voice in practice. There were moments when it looked like she might come to blows with a teammate. But it wasn't anger that drove her. It was a relentless desire to push herself and her teammates to be the best. From day one, Caitlyn had one goal in mind: to win a championship, but along the way, she continued to break records and make history. That season, she etched her name in the record books for another reason. By sinking a jaw-dropping 32-foot three-pointer against Michigan, Caitlyn shattered the Division Wakaso women's career scoring record. To commemorate the achievement, her name and number were painted onto the Iowa court, a tribute to her incredible feat. And on senior night, Caitlyn did more than just add to her list of accolades. She surpassed Pete Maravich's long-standing men's Division I scoring record, solidifying her place as the highest scorer in Division I basketball history. With a mind-blowing total of 3,951 points, Caitlyn Clark had not only made her mark on Iowa, but on the entire sport of basketball. Caitlyn Clark's senior year was nothing short of legendary. Averaging an eye-popping 31 points per game, she led the Hawkeyes to another Big Ten title, with the ultimate goal in mind: a national championship. In the Elite Eight, she faced off against Angel Reese and LSU once again. But this time, Iowa came out on top. Caitlyn poured in 41 points in a game, watched by a record-breaking 12.3 million viewers, an incredible moment that sent her stardom into overdrive. Then came the national championship game, a historic spectacle that drew a staggering 18.9 million viewers, smashing the record for the most watched women's college basketball game in history. It also became the second most watched women's sporting event on US television and the most watched basketball game, men's or women's, in the past 5 years. Caitlyn's impact had reached an entirely new level, propelling women's basketball into the national spotlight like never before. By the time Caitlyn wrapped up her college career, she had averaged 28 points per game over 4 remarkable years, fundamentally shifting how people viewed women's basketball. Her unique style, logo threes, off-balance buzzer beaters, and fearless passes had captured the attention of sports icons like Patrick Mahomes, Steph Curry, Tom Brady, and LeBron James, all of whom publicly admired her influence on the game. No longer just a college star, Caitlyn was now a household name and a commercial powerhouse. She graced Nike billboards and starred in State Farm commercials, cementing her place not only as one of the greatest players to ever play the game, but as a cultural force in sports. Her journey had changed the game forever. Before even stepping foot in the WNBA, Caitlyn Clark was already a millionaire, thanks to her groundbreaking NIL deals. By April 2024, she was selected as the first overall pick in the WNBA draft by the Indiana Fever, marking the start of what promises to be a career for the ages. Caitlyn hasn't just made history in college basketball, she's redefined the entire landscape of women's sports. Now, she's taking her fame, star power, and massive popularity to the pros, and the WNBA is about to experience an era of unprecedented growth. We're already seeing the effects. The Washington Mystics and Las Vegas Aces have both moved their games against the Fever to larger venues, anticipating bigger crowds eager to watch Caitlyn in action. But Caitlyn's impact isn't just about packed arenas. The league has made a historic commitment of $50 million to provide charter flights for all 12 teams starting in the 2024 season, something that's never been done before. That's the Caitlyn Clark effect in full swing, and it's clear that her influence on the sport is just beginning. Reflecting on her time at Iowa, Caitlyn once said, "When I leave this place, I don't want people to forget about me." Well, Caitlyn, mission accomplished. No one will forget her now. Her name is known worldwide, and the most exciting part? We've only just begun to see what she's capable of. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Caitlyn and what you think is in store for the next chapter of her career. Drop a comment below. I can't wait to read them. If you enjoyed this video about Caitlyn, be sure to check out the next one. I think you'll love it too. Have an amazing day.